Hey guys, this is Lauren Simpoli with Junior Achievement. This afternoon, I'm here with Joy Kelly. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day to talk to us.
I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, glad to be here with you. Could you tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
My name is Joy Kelly. I am an instructor, a college instructor, a professor at two different colleges. I teach at the Art Institute of Virginia Beach and also at Old Dominion University. Both of those colleges, I am employed through their fashion marketing and merchandising programs.
Excellent. Go Monarchs. I'm also over at ODU, so
Yeah.
Is this where you wanted to be when you grew up?
That's a good question. When I was growing up, my aptitude test in sixth grade said I would be a farmer.
Oh.
That was not me.
Hmm.
And as I went through high school, I did know I wanted to be in business.
Hmm.
And I also knew I wanted to be in the fashion industry.
Sure.
And as you go through and you start to really look at the value of the career and what you're going to give up in exchange for the career, my goal or, my priorities changed.
Sure.
Funny enough, I am teaching in the department that I did get one of my first two degrees in. So somewhat I am in the
Okay.
fashion industry. However, I'm more of a marketing person as my MBA is really focused in marketing.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, yeah. So yeah, you kind of come full circle, add some things on there. That's really cool. So what does a typical day look like for you?
Now that we're in COVID, my life has changed dramatically.
Sure.
Prior to COVID, I would lecture 4-hour classes once a week for each of the courses that I took. I would lecture not initially straight through, but do hands-on elements as well as testing and evaluating in that. Now that we're online,
Yeah.
100% virtual. My day is I wake up, I check my email, drinking my coffee. Usually I'm in my pajamas and maybe a
Sure.
sweatshirt until it's time to go on camera. Couple times a week I go on camera and I meet with my students. We meet privately in a virtual office, or I lecture and record my lectures.
Hmm.
The rest of my day is spent reading student work and evaluating their progress. So it's a lot of computer. Everything is sitting and looking straight at the screen
A lot of
anymore.
screen time. Yeah. But still, I mean, the nice thing is like you're doing all the things that you were doing just differently, which is, when
Absolutely.
the technology works, it's really nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
I miss my students.
Oh, yeah,
There
absolutely.
is a personal element that you like to have with your students, but through the magic of these learning platforms, they're learning more, and I'm able to give them more
Hmm.
at an individualized pace.
Yeah.
So it's been really good.
Yeah.
It's good for a lot of people.
That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. So our company program students are learning about all the aspects of the business process. And you and I had an interesting conversation the other day about pricing and keeping that
Mhm.
in mind when you're, working on a product idea. So can you kind of speak to that? You have a lot of real world experience in this subject.
Yes, and surprisingly enough, our students have real world experience in pricing. So what I have is I have three areas that you really need to think about with pricing. And
Mhm.
pricing, of course, we know the four P's, and pricing is one of the elements. Um, you always start with your product. You decide how you're going to distribute it. You decide how you're going to promote it. Once you've made those decisions, you need to decide how you're going to price it,
Mhm.
and that's the challenge. Um, there are some fundamental pricing elements that we know. You have to cover the cost of manufacturing.
Sure.
But some of the things that people forget about, and first and foremost, is considering the value. So we set our price or we establish the marketing strategy with the customer at our center.
Mhm.
Everything is focused on our customer, the person that we want to buy. So now we get to our pricing element. And we need to think about this exchange. What are we asking from them in exchange for our product or service?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to think about that value. What does somebody value? And value is always determined by the customer.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter. My son can tell me every day of the week that a Supreme t-shirt with a box logo is worth $58. I'm going to tell you no. Every day of the week. It is not worth that much because I have to hand wash it to keep it looking like that. Anyway, value is the customer.
Mm-hmm.
It is what I am willing to give up in exchange for that product. So it's not only the money that I give up, it's the other things, the opportunity costs that I gave up. So what did I give up by spending $58 on a t-shirt? Well, I could have had money to go to Starbucks 5 times.
Right.
So that exchange, the customer has to be willing to make that exchange, and it has to be worth value to customers. And my value is different from somebody else's.
Sure.
So you need to really think about your customer in this. What do they value and why do they value it? So when that's the heart of your mix.
Mm-hmm.
Is what the customer thinks, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day what you set the price at. If they don't buy it, you've lost, because we go with our wallet. Now, the second thing is pricing components. And one of the elements that people always get, we know you take the cost of the good and you put it in there. Mm-hmm. But you need to start thinking about what it costs to sell that good. So in a retail establishment, what does it cost to sell a good? Well, I have to have a store to operate out of, like a brick and mortar storefront. Or if I'm selling on Etsy, I'm paying 10%.
Right.
So I have to think about the cost of my good. And that's real important to understand all the elements that go into it. Not only is it just the materials, but let's suppose I'm making it. Mm-hmm. What is my time worth? My time is worth, I have to be realistic. My time is worth $1 million an hour.
Yeah.
But, seriously, what is your time worth? You need to compare it, because ultimately, let's say you get on Shark Tank and they scale it. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, you're going to be putting in more time. You're going to want some money in exchange for your time. So you've got to really think about what the time is worth. The next is what it costs you to advertise, what it costs you to promote your product. Let's say you are going to trade shows. What does it cost to enter that trade show? What is it costing you to travel to that trade show? What is it costing you to stay current? In my profession, I have to stay current with not only education practices, but with fashion and marketing. Mm-hmm. What does it cost me? I spend money on certain groups, organizations, and literature. Mm-hmm. So we're thinking about those things. And so when you put together all of that, now you've decided, okay, this is what I have to charge. Mm-hmm. This is my absolute minimum charge.
Right.
But you've yet to plan for profit. So we have that up there. And, I say, if you're not going to plan for profit, you're wasting your time. Even in a nonprofit organization, the profit is spent for the organization's greater good.
Right.
So profit is vital. Now, how do you plan for profit? Well, you got to start looking around and looking at your other 3 Ps. What's going on with your promotion? What's your product about? What's the image? Who's the customer? Mm-hmm. And that brings us down to our pricing strategies. And this is an element that a lot of people forget. They forget about their pricing strategies, and your pricing strategies must match up or mesh with your overall marketing plan and your overall business plan. Okay, so there are 3 pricing strategies. The first one is the absolute easiest pricing strategy. It's called status quo. I look around, the market is saturated. I'm selling the same price as you are. As you look at pizza and some of these fast food places, that's pretty much status quo pricing, right?
Sure.
Now, status quo is not bad. It
Mhm.
is done in a lot of cases.
Mhm.
Let's Nike, for instance. If you sell a Nike item out of your retail establishment, Nike tells you what the price is. They
Okay.
say that MSRP, that's not recommended. That is mandatory. Nike will
Right.
come after the retailer if they don't sell it at that price, because they don't want a retailer to undercut everybody else
Yeah.
and ruin the competition. So pricing is really important there. Now let's go to the other two strategies, which are really interesting. So you have one strategy where you go in low, and you have one strategy where you go in high. So the first one is your sales strategy, and that is designed to sell volumes. So
Mhm.
you're wanting to sell as much as you possibly can at a lower price, because we know if you have a lower price, you can sell more,
Right.
with supply and demand. So this is the strategy that Target, that Walmart, a lot
Mhm.
of these stores use, is they sell low, but they sell a lot.
Mhm.
So they might make a penny, but they're selling millions and millions, millions of dollars, and making millions and millions of pennies. So the markup is lower as far as the profit margin goes. They're
Mhm.
not making as much profit per item, but they're selling so much that
Mhm.
the supply and demand works that way.
Right.
Now, key to keep in mind is that you, as an individual, if you're starting a business, you're never going to undercut Walmart.
No.
They can buy in volume. They can negotiate discounts and shipping terms that you will never get.
Yeah.
So now you're going to say, well, what happens? Well, you can still sell low, but you just have to think about how you're going to do it. And you can
Sure.
just don't try and match Walmart.
Right.
That's the deal. They're going to drive you out of business if you try to.
Yeah.
And that's not meant to be negative. It's just the
No.
way it is.
Yeah.
Now, the next strategy is really appealing in a lot of ways, because you think, wow, okay, I charge a lot
Mhm.
for my item and I only have to sell a few. And that's called a profit oriented strategy.
Okay.
Now, the challenge with that is you got to think about your customer and go back to what they value. Joy Kelly does not value a $58 t shirt. I don't care what's on it. I don't care if it's the red box logo or not. So you got to determine value
Mhm.
and what the customers value as most specifically. So the profit oriented strategy says, I know I'm going to sell less because I'm selling it at a higher price.
Mhm.
But now I have to figure out where that high price is. What is the
Right.
point at which customers turn away?
Mhm. Yeah.
And there are a lot of things companies will do, and I do use Supreme just because a lot of young people know Supreme. Supreme and some of these other urban clothing manufacturers, or not manufacturers, but retailers,
Mhm.
they build in scarcity
Okay.
through their drops.
Mhm.
So when
Mhm.
they build in that scarcity, so all of a sudden the value of it goes up to me because it's scarce. There's
Mhm.
only 100 of them made, and I want one of them.
Right.
So if you do determine that you want to do a profit oriented strategy, you have to figure out how you're going to make it worthwhile to your customers.
Mhm.
And in that situation, the customers that are buying that, they're buying that product to be seen as an influencer and
Right.
exclusive. So their value is an intrinsic value that you can't compare. It's like
Mhm.
buying a Mercedes versus buying a moped. You know,
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
don't look as cool on a moped as I do in a Mercedes.
Right.
So that's an emotional thing too. So you're
Mhm.
going to play a lot of different strategies in your head, and that's what economists do. There are people that sit down and crunch the numbers and do the supply and demand curve, and they figure out what the exact right price is. As an individual business person, that would be pretty hard, and it would take a lot of schooling to figure it out.
Sure.
So sometimes it's trial and error.
Mhm.
But if you kind of understand those three strategies, and you know at the heart of everything, your customer is there, and you
Mhm.
have to cover your cost, and
Mhm.
you have to make a profit,
Yeah.
you're good.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I took like one econ class in college, and it was too much. But you,
It's phenomenal, and it gets crazy when you
yeah.
start to think about that, and then you start drawing supply off the shelves to stimulate demand. It can be manipulative.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, absolutely. But that's still, it's fascinating. And so what kind of advice do you have to our students to like take this kind of information or other things that they're learning in their classes and apply it to either their like future educational careers or just even like their day-to-day lives? Because I think a lot of that, you were talking about like valuing your time and like, but you have to be reasonable about it, because yes, I would like to
$1 million, baby.
my time. So yeah, how do we apply some of this to our day-to-day?
So, in thinking about it, where I'm going to go is, if you're in high school right now, you are thinking about your future. Most everybody, you've got this safety net. You're living at home, or you have somebody as your safety net that's taking care of you. Now is your chance to start thinking. I'm telling you, when that aptitude test said I was going to be a farmer, I knew instantly I needed to buckle down and start studying, because there's nothing wrong with farming.
Sure.
But I don't want to get dirty. I value being
not for you. Yeah.
So let's think about that. When considering a career, I'm going to go very far out and think about where my future is. And I'm going to think about, what am I willing to give up for future income?
Yeah.
So what do I value, and what am I willing to give up for this? So in my situation where, my family, I have a sister that is a doctor.
Okay.
She gave up a lot of time at the start in college. I went to college 6 years. I think she had 8+ residency. And, now she is still working. Overnight shifts at the hospital on call. She's delivering babies in the middle of the night. She gets 4 hours of sleep. I don't want that.
Right.
I don't want her, I would love her income.
Sure.
I looked at it before, and I'm like, ooh, the difference is your kids go to private school and mine go to public. But it's not. It's what you're willing to give up. Yeah. So you have to think about that time investment. She did the education. She is putting in the time at work. Another thing you need to think about is what you value in life. Do you need prestige? I personally don't need a title. I don't really care. Yeah. Never have. So it's never been to me about having a prefix or a suffix behind my name to tell people who I am. I'm happy just to be part of a team. But if you need that esteem to feel valuable, then you need to figure out how much you're willing to give up for it. Sure. Are you willing to go to law school? Are you willing to go to med school? Now, there's some other things you think about. This is, the time investment is important, but the financial investment in what you decide to do, the financial investment in a college education is substantial. Yeah. And there are a variety of choices. And being a college professor, I do believe in college. I believe at this point, my children are going to college. However, do I think everybody needs to go to college? Absolutely not. I believe in further education. I believe that you need to decide what you want to be and study. My plumber makes more than I do. Right. Yeah. He has education, but he's willing to get his fingers dirty. Right. And he has the tools. Yes. So you need to think about where you want to be, what you're willing to give up, what comfort you're willing to give up for your future. And thinking about what kind of lifestyle you want to live. So these are all value versus cost. Yeah. The cost we're talking about is, it's the tools, the time, the risk. So those that want to be an entrepreneur, you all have a desire to risk in order to gain big. Some of us are really just happy working for somebody else and getting a paycheck. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, like that entrepreneurial risk freaks me out. So absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have yet to ever want to own a business. I don't think I want to give that much time up. I don't want to give up my freedom.
Yeah.
So lastly, in everything, everything you do, you need to think about the cost versus the benefit,
Mhm.
and determine what your value is and what you think your value is going to be in the future. When you accept a job, it is tempting to accept a job that pays a lot of money.
Right.
It's even tempting right now as a young person.
Yeah.
I can accept a job that's paying $15 an hour, or I can accept a job that's paying less. You need to decide what you're willing to give up. Retail jobs don't pay as much, but you're not getting dirty. You're not swinging a hammer in the cold. My son is at the car wash today, working in the rain.
Yeah.
What are you willing to give up, and what are you willing to go through? And that's kind of the lesson of determining value through the consumer's standpoint,
Sure.
and the benefits gained from the exchange.
Absolutely. Again, it's absolutely fascinating, and it's things that I don't think I considered when I was in high school. So
I wish I
having
would
these
have.
conversations now. So, oh my God. Again, I could talk to you for another hour and a half, but I'm sure you have things that you need to go get done. But Joy, thank you so much for taking some time and having this conversation with us. Has been great, and hopefully we will see you again soon.
Thank you. It was really good, and I appreciate being asked. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.